Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
What is up and welcome in. We are the One and Done Show. We are your fast break of college basketball information, and we got you. I am your host, Eric Romoff. You can catch me on those Twitter streets at FantasyNav, and he is the captain of our ship. He has his eye on a 5K top prize tomorrow. He is MC Holland34 on Twitter. He is Mr. Mike Holland. Mike, welcome in. How you feeling on a Monday?
I'm feeling good. I love Mondays, man. You know, just that Tuesday slate's just always beautiful. We could look forward to those Tuesday slates and those Saturday slates in college basketball. So, yeah, it's a big one again, 12 games, man. So, yeah, let's get it started. Let's get the people the information they need.
Yeah, 12-gamer queued up. Definitely. Case of the Mondays has a different connotation when you're playing college basketball DFS. These Tuesday slates are awesome. So big 12-gamer on the board, 5K to first with the pull-up jumper. Got another bonanza seat on the line. So definitely starting to heat up in the college basketball world. We've got 5 games to showcase. So we're going to get through these as quickly as we can, but there's a lot of information to cover. Our first showcase game, this is one that's carrying a 154-point total. It's Miami at Florida State. According to Ken Palm, this one is 80-74 in favor of Miami. Side note, Ken Palm has this one projected about 4.5 points higher than what the Vegas line is. So if you're trusting these guys like we do, might be something to take note of. We will start on the Miami side. These Hurricanes are 15-4, coming on a little bit lately, playing 8th in the country in terms of offensive efficiency, 39th on the defensive side, 151st on tempo. A lot of things going on here with the Hurricanes. Mike, where are you starting on the Miami side?
Yeah, Miami's been frustrating. We talked about it a few times over the last couple of weeks, right? They just play a lot of guards. And so, you know, I was on Harlan Beverly at 3,900 on that Saturday slate, and he was no good. But we have some news we got to look at. So Isaiah Wong, he's questionable. So that's going to play a pretty big part. If he's out, then I'm going to spin the wheel and deal with these other 4 guards. Really with Nigel Pack at 6,100, feels like his usage rate should tick up. He's normally 21% usage. I feel like that'll get into the 25, 26. His shot rate's almost 25%. So I feel like he could get up a ton of shots if Wong were to miss. If Wong is in, I don't know that I like a ton of these guys. You know, for me, I guess if he's out, it looks like I'll take some shots at Pack. Even Poplar, Beverly, Joseph, don't mind taking shots at all of them, honestly. But really a priority for me if Wong is out is going to be Nigel Pack. Outside of that, man, like Jordan Miller, just 7,200. Yeah, maybe it's just because I was burned about 3 or 4 games ago. But he's been pretty solid, 33 and 33 back-to-back games. Just a Swiss Army knife, does everything. You know, in this type of environment, I mean, you like that. Florida State's, you know, a team that, you know, struggles on the defensive end. They're almost 200 in defensive efficiency. So he's an interesting play. I don't know what the ceiling is. Like, I feel like, you know, we've seen him get to 40, but it's a little like everything has to break his way, it feels like. And then, you know, Norchad, he's there. The price tag is a little annoying. 8,600, it feels like 4X, right? And that's kind of what you're going to get out of him. So I don't know if I prioritize any of these guys really, outside of maybe a Pack if Wong's out and taking some shots on some of these other guards. What's your feel on this team?
Yeah, I've got a pretty similar look, right? The rotation among these guards has been annoying us for a few weeks now. We got our guy Corey checking in with those solid dad jokes, Wong's side of the injury report. Always appreciate you swinging through, Corey. Let's kind of roll the ball forward, right? We see that questionable tag next to Wong's name. These last 3 guys on the rotation on the guard front have always been, or at least recently have been, you know, kind of a head scratcher. If Wong is in fact out, do you think one of them across Poplar, across Beverly, across Joseph maybe gets a little bit more run in that case?
Oh yeah, they're for sure going to get more run as far as who's going to produce.
Of those 3, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to spin the wheel of those 3. I would probably play the cheapest, Joseph and Beverly. That $500 kind of sticks out for Poplar, but it feels like, you know, if you play those 2, then Poplar at 4,500, right? Like some leverage on some of those Miami guards. So Yeah, I mean, look, man, like you just got to spin the wheel on this team and hope you hit it right. There's 12 games, though. I don't know that you need to do that. Unless Wong is out, then you probably want to do that, but that's just where I'm at.
Makes sense. So we will move on to the other side of this in-state rivalry. That is the Florida State Seminoles, 7-13 on the season, 111th in the offensive category, 197th in the defensive category. A little bit faster than average in terms of pace, 108th in tempo. Anything that's maybe a bit more appealing for the Seminoles?
Yeah, Matthew Cleveland, he's just been really good. I feel like after last game when he put up a 26, people are going to kind of go away from him. I mean, that price tag is insane. But before that, I mean, 48, 32, 40, and 44. If he gets into the 40s, like you'll take that at 9,500. Outside of that, man, it's kind of tough. I've been taking some shots here at Darren Green just because he has a high shot rate. He shoots a ton of threes. So you see games where sometimes he'll pop off for a 30, 35, even a 39 in the last 5. So it feels like Darren Green is someone to attack here. But yeah, I mean, outside of maybe those two guys, Caleb Mills I'm kind of off of him right now. And I want to play Baba Miller more, but at 3,300, he'd be a great salary saver if I knew he was going to get minutes. I mean, he's been 10, 11, and 10 in fantasy points over the last 3 games at 3,300, right? Like it just takes like an uptick of 5 minutes for Miller to kind of ascend into that 15 fantasy point range, which is 5x at that price tag. So yeah, at some point they're going to play him a lot because this is kind of a lost season for Florida State. So he's someone that I'm interested in. I'll probably just kind of plug him in 1 or 2 out of 20 to see if he actually gets that minute increase, and then he's going to explode when that finally happens. So you playing Mills or Worley or any of these guys, they're going to get minutes. It's just I don't know, man. It feels like you either pay all the way up for Cleveland or take a shot on Green.
Yeah, Mills is kind of interesting, right? Like if you look at his rates, there's a lot to like there. 26% usage, 26% shot, 25% assist, chips in a block, chips in a steal. The price tag is where I think the hesitation comes in, right? Like he's got to do a lot of those things to pay off 7K. Is that kind of where your hesitation was born, or is there something else that has you off of him?
He just hasn't been good. I mean, he's not consistent at all. It doesn't, like, where's the ceiling with this guy? And we know it's there. So maybe a perfect play for a large field tournament. 5K, you've got, 1,500 entrants in there. Like, he could pop off. So I just, for, a main lineup, you're not going to touch him, right? I don't know if you're really touching anybody in this game for, a main-type lineup. But he's someone in a large field that is kind of appealing. I'd just rather take my chances with Darren Green, who can get hot from the outside. But for 300 more to get Mills in there, if he could just stay out of foul trouble and do some things, it feels like maybe he can get it going. Jalen Worley's just too expensive at this point at 5,300 for kind of what he does. And, that 15% usage rate, I just have a hard time paying for anybody over 5K with a 15% usage rate.
Yeah, I mean, that's – He basically needs everything that he touches to either go in or to be an assist in order to get close to paying off that price tag. So definitely makes sense why he would be someone to avoid. We will move on to our second showcase game. Before we do, if you're checking in on YouTube, definitely hit those like and subscribe buttons. Let us know in the comments if there's anyone from the Miami or Florida State side that is catching your interest. And of course, drop those questions in there as we move along. And we will move along to our second showcase game. Another high total here, 150 points between DePaul heading to Georgetown to face off against the Hoyas. This is one that Ken Palm is projecting as a 2-point spread in favor of DePaul, 76-74. Those Blue Demons are where we will start, 9-11 on the season. Bout league average on the offensive side, bout league average on the defensive side, 117th and 160th respectively. 93rd in tempo, so they play at an okay clip. Anything jumping out in particular about the DePaul side?
Yeah, I think it starts with the Emoji Gibson, 7,500. These are the spots where he absolutely smashes. I really like the DePaul side, even though they're on the road here. Georgetown's terrible defensively and has given us some massive games. Gibson's just kind of hovering at this price tag, and whenever you get a pace-up spot with him and the usage rate and the shot rate and the assist rate are massive, Feels like he can go off for another 36, a 38, a 40, which he's popped off for multiple times this season. So he's going to be in play in a lot of my lineups. Javon Johnson, we talked about it. Like, he's on the floor a lot. He's just not doing a lot. So I think I'm off on him. I have a little bit of intrigue in Caleb Murphy. I don't know if this is maybe a slate or too early. He's 4,900. He was their other transfer that came in with Gibson, who was supposed to really take over this backcourt, but has been injured all season. So got 2 games under his belt, a 13 and a 15 as far as fantasy point production. He's not 4,900, which is annoying, but the usage rate is 25%, his shot rate's 30%, and his assist rate is 14%. And quite frankly, he hasn't really played that well. But you start to see the minutes, tick up here, and he's a guy that, if Terry is out again, probably gonna have to log 25 to 30 minutes. So I'll have to pay attention to the Terry news. But he's someone that is a little interesting. I wish the price was a little bit cheaper, but that's kind of where I'm at. It really starts with the Emoji Gibson for me. I've been off the Deshaun Nelson train, but he can pop off for some big games. He's 6,100 now. Is that somewhere you're gonna go?
Yeah, it's interesting specifically because of that ceiling, right? 4 games ago against Villanova, that big win that they surprised the world with. He put up a 40 burger. He's essentially the same price that he was back then. So anytime you can get that kind of ceiling in a tournament context, always something that's going to be of note. I guess the question that I would have for you, looking at this matchup specifically against Georgetown, is there anything that he can potentially exploit and maybe get back to this ceiling at 6.1K?
Yeah, they're terrible on defense. So like everyone on this team, everyone on DePaul is in play because their price tags. I mean, 7,500 for Gibson, sign me up. Like 6,100 for Deshaun Nelson. Like, I haven't been doing it, but he's got 40 fantasy point upside in this, in this matchup. So anytime someone plays Georgetown, everyone's in play. It's just who are you going to prioritize? Even Javon Johnson could pop off for a 40, and it would not surprise me. So, they are on the road, tight game, right? Like, these guys should get massive minutes. I'll click the button maybe once or twice on Nelson, but I'll be clicking it a lot on Gibson and maybe taking a shot on one with Johnson.
Yeah, I want to go back to Gibson, right? Like, Gibson is rather the lock. I want to go back to Murphy is where I'm looking at. You mentioned how he's coming back from injury, how he's walking his way up. He should continue to see more and more minutes. The thing that caught my eye, his first 2 games, 12 shots, 9 shot attempts, right? So if he's kind of getting back into rhythm, he gets a little bit more comfortable on the court. If he's going to take 11 or so shots in this upcoming game against the poor Georgetown defense, feels like the type of environment where he can see a few more of those go through and really pay off. Is that line of thinking one that that squares in your head, or is that me kind of grasping at straws?
Yeah, I mean, if I think he gets 12 or 13 attempts, like, he's playable. The price is annoying. I was hoping we'd get the decrease. Well, we got the Georgetown increase, right? So maybe not yet, but in play for large field. But I don't know if I can completely go there. For me, it's really just Gibson and then Nelson and Johnson. But yeah, I mean, could he go for a 20? Yeah, absolutely. But is that realistically, that's not good enough, right, for a large field tournament? So the more we kind of talk about it, like, I'm probably going to wait a few slates, maybe kicks back down to 4,500. And it really depends on the Terry news too. Like, if Terry's back, obviously that could hurt him. So yeah, for Murphy, it's kind of a cautious thing, and maybe just taking a shot in the dark on 1 out of 20.
That makes sense. We will move on to our next team. Before we do, let's welcome our guy Anthony G back in, always in here showing some love in the chat, ready to find some winners. Looks like you found your way to a fun game at that New Mexico game last time we were on air. So hopefully we're keeping those good vibes going. Appreciate you swinging through. The other side of this matchup, Georgetown Hoyas 5-15 on the season. Patrick Ewing's seat might be getting a little bit warm. This is a team that is coming in At 164th in the offensive efficiency department, Mike, you mentioned how poor they are on the defensive side, 281st overall, 112th in tempo, pretty good clip, getting paced up just a little bit on the DePaul side. So, we find ourselves at least talking about this game a lot or their games a lot because they are so poor on the defensive side. But for these Hoyas, anyone catching your attention, anyone that you're going out of your way to build around?
Yeah. I like all these guys. Honestly, they all play heavy minutes. Primo Spears just popped off for a ridiculous game, 7,900. So, man, I don't know that he's going to get to 50 again, but the guy has a high usage rate, a high shot rate, a high assist rate. Like, he's got multiple ways to get there. And the Georgetown team's really leaning on these guards, man. Like, Spears and Murray. And Murray, you get the $1,100 savings on him. One of these two feels like could have a pretty big game. I mean, they have high usage rates. So for both of them, right, like mix and matching. This is not a team that you really want to get too crazy with game stacks because we know they can just be terrible in certain points. But yeah, I mean, I'll have some shares of both of those guys. A cook, like 6,800. I'm not paying for that. I'm not chasing the fantasy game he had last time out at 39. So, for me, like I said, I don't really pay for guys that are 6,800 that have a 13% usage rate, right? And everything else has to go right. He's probably going to find himself in the 20 fantasy point range again. Quadus Wahab, man, I can't quit him either. He's 6,400. He's got upside, man. Like, I don't understand why this guy doesn't have more double doubles, and that's an area where DePaul struggles. Is big men have pretty solid games. I mean, they struggle on the glass. Should be able to get some easy putbacks here, but man, he's he's tough to swallow sometimes because he can easily get into foul trouble and he easily could just completely dud. But he's someone that I'm really paying attention to. I think he also got to like Jordan Riley. He's 4,800 and now he's getting piles and piles of minutes with the Heath injury. So he's someone that you can look at. Getting into 30 minutes, obviously at 4,800, you'd like that. Is it a ceiling type game? Yeah, I mean, Georgetown's technically getting kind of a little boost here with pace. So this should be one of the faster games on the slate. So really Spears, Murray, and Riley all in play. And then I just like Wow because of the matchup and the fact that he can double. And we've seen him get into the 30, 35, and at 6,400, it feels like, that's certainly viable. So, I do like Georgetown. They are at home. This could be some fantasy goodness in this game.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it. I appreciate that Riley, even though it's just a couple $100, is technically below the 5K price tag, right? You mentioned the injury. Since that injury, he's gone 27 or more minutes in all 5 of those games. So hard to come by guys that are going to average about 30 minutes of playing time in that sub 5K range. So something to keep in mind. And Anthony himself couldn't agree more. Georgetown should be playing so much better with the players they have. Tends to speak to a lapse in leadership and a little bit of struggles on the coaching side. So couldn't agree with you more. We will move on to our third showcase game. This is one carrying a 149-point total. Missouri heading to Ole Miss. Ole Miss is the favorite here, according to Ken Palm, 75-74. We will start with the underdog, technically. That is the Missouri Tigers, 14-5 on the season, playing a pretty good brand of offensive basketball, 10th in that efficiency category, middle of the road on the defensive side, and playing at a really fast pace, 42nd in tempo. So for these Tigers, know that there is a bit of injury question marks heading in. Maybe you want to start there and kind of walk into how that impacts the rest of the Tigers.
Yeah, Kobe Brown. We'll see what's going to happen with him. Obviously, a huge part of this team, right? I mean, that price tag too, right? It's pretty scary. It's 8,200. We'll see if he's on the court. I don't know. This Ole Miss team is pretty good defensively, and they're pretty slow. So it looks like Ken Palm likes this game to get up and down a little bit more. Looks like Missouri pushing that pace. I don't know. 8,200 is a lot to pay for a guy that is, one, questionable, and two, he is very volatile and get in an uglier, defensive grind here. That there's a lot of forwards that Ole Miss can throw at this kid. So probably not for me. I don't know that I like a lot on the Missouri side, honestly. Like these road games, they do scare me. Demoy Hodge, like I wish he was kind of in the 6K range. Just these guards, man. Like Dennis Gates is playing so many guys. It's really annoying. So I don't know if Hodge is going to be playing 30 minutes or he's going to be playing 15 minutes. Same thing with Nick Honor, but Nick Honor just doesn't do anything shot rate wise, usage rate wise. So he's annoying at 5,200. Isaiah Mosley, one of our top 10 transfers in the offseason on our big board, getting some run here, man. Like the kid's a scorer. And if he's going to get 30 minutes again at 4,600, like I want that, but it's not something that's guaranteed. I mean, his rates are nice. It's a 30% usage rate, almost a 30% shot rate, 26% assist rate, and a 3% steal and block rate. So, yeah, if you told me Isaiah Mosley was going to get even 25 minutes, I would I would click the button multiple times on my mass multi entries, but you just don't know. Demoy Hodge could easily, once again play these minutes. They have so many other guys, Sean East. Like, yeah, this Missouri team is pretty tough to pin down sometimes, especially with Kobe Brown and that questionable tag. If he's out, it doesn't really do much for me. It just feels like the usage just gets spread out, and you're really just kind of like Miami. You're just kind of spinning the wheel. It feels like Mosley's going to get some more run here because they obviously need a nice win here on the road. So we'll kind of see. I don't know. What's your take on these guys?
Yeah, similar point to the one that I raised with Riley as we were talking about Georgetown, right? Isaiah Mosley, another player, sub 5K. If he's going to see 30 plus minutes, that is a huge priority. The difference being, though, Isaiah Mosley has one game all season where he's gone over 23 minutes. That is the last game out, whereas our guy Riley was essentially averaging that over the course of his last 5. So a bit more volatile, but with that volatility probably comes a bit of, leverage on the field, a way to get unique overall. They
also got blasted by Alabama too. So I mean, who knows, man? Like he could
have been blowout time for sure, right?
Like, yeah, we just don't know. Like, are they going to play him or not? He was also 1 for 8 from 3. So imagine if he hits a couple more threes, like then he explodes. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like the Ole Miss side in this game.
Yeah, that side it feels a little bit more clear, but I do think that there's a bit of chalk to talk about here in your favorite Texas A&M transfer coming into Mizzou. Played 15 minutes last time out in that blowout against Bama, put up 28 fantasy points. You think that we're going to see him draw a good bit of ownership? And is he someone that you're really just looking to fade, or you think that he might be in rotation?
Yeah, with Diarra, well, not that A&M Diarra, he's a UConn, but with Muhammad Diarra, he could potentially be someone that you play. I don't know, man. Like yeah, he looked nice last game, but it was against Bama in a blowout. So I'm just going to be cautious here, and I'm really looking to Ole Miss to get this pace up and get some of these guys in that the price tags are a lot nicer, and they're just not as volatile, it feels like, even though they do play a lot of guys as well.
Yeah, so let's jump into that Ole Miss side. The Rebels themselves are 9-10 on the season, pretty average on the offensive side, pretty solid on the defensive side, 55th in net efficiency, 249th in tempo. So that is where the big impact of the pace up is, right? They're playing much slower than average. They're playing a much faster than average team in the Mizzou side. And the headline here for Ole Miss, all of these guys are cheap, right? So a lot of different ways to go here. I guess, where are you starting with the Rebels?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys to play here too. We got a little bit of injury news with them. Matthew Morrell, who is a really high usage player, he is questionable. If he is out, it makes me like the guards more. If he's in, it kind of muddies the waters up a little bit because he is a guy that plays 35 minutes a game, right? Doesn't really feel like he's going to play with a knee injury, but we'll have to pay attention to the lock. If he's out, man, like it opens up for these three guys that are under 5K. Deshaun Ruffin, he's 4,800. He's coming off of his own injury earlier in the season, but his rates are massive. And, last year he was pretty good. And it's not pretty. Take a share of him probably if, I just don't know when he's going to pop off for 25, to 30 minutes. Because if you told me he got 28 to 30 minutes, like I would much rather click his name 2 or 3 times than just the one time. For me, it really comes down to the guys that are just a little bit cheaper than him that we know are going to see the floor for significant minutes, and that's Amari Abram. He's 4,400, super talented freshman here. Price is slowly climbing up. We were playing him at 3,500, 3,600. Now he's getting into that mid 4K range where you kind of need those minutes in order for him to get there. So I'll be taking some shots on him. And then James White here, man, it feels like White essentially was very active last game. It wasn't productive, but he was active. And he's someone that probably going to have to do some damage if Morel's out for any extended time. So, at that price tag, it really stands out, right? 3,600. If he starts to walk his minutes into the high 20s, low 30s, now he's someone that feels like almost a priority type play in this pace up spot. So for me, it's Abram, White. You got a bunch of forwards that you can look at. McInnes, his price has walked up a little bit. So while they're cheaper plays, McInnes and Burns, Brakefield, you're kind of spinning the wheel on these guys as well, man. Like I couldn't pin down which one. I mean, McInnes, right? Like he's only got 13% usage rate, but a lot of that's come within the last couple of games where he's getting, more usage. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? Some of this will work if Morel's out, but if Morel's in, I don't know that I want to touch anybody on this team because he's so highly involved that it just takes away from everyone else. If he's out, I'm probably prioritizing Abram and White. And then I don't mind taking a shot on someone like Brakefield. McInnes' price is probably just a little too expensive now. Kind of wanted to see him in the mid 4s, not the high 4s. So that's where I'm at with this team. But there's going to be fantasy points going around this game. It's just tough to pin down who it's going to be.
So assuming that we see Morel out, it feels like most people are going to shift their attention firmly onto the guards, right? So do you think that with this, sort of collection of mid-tiered forwards, they offer some leverage that you want to try to take advantage of? You mentioned sort of the price implications, but in terms of, differentiating your roster overall, is there one that you think is going to be sort of the best leverage or? I
think I like Brakefield. He's the most expensive, right? He's 5,500. He's been a guy that can show he can get into the to the mid to high 20s, even pop off for a 30. So definitely think that people will go to kind of the guards, right? But it's not a bad idea when people zig to zag and go to one of these guys. If I were prioritizing, it's probably Brakefield, then McInnes, and then Burns. But I would play Brakefield with confidence if Morel's out. Someone's going to have to score from them, and he provides outside shooting, which is an area they struggle in.
Definitely like that Brakefield call. We will head to our fourth showcase game. And this is a tradition unlike any other. North Carolina heading to Syracuse to face off against our beloved 2-3 zone. Carrying a 149-point total on this one. This is a game where North Carolina is favored by 3, 76-73, according to Ken Palm. We will start with the attackers of that zone. Tar Heels are 14-6 on the season, 16th on the offensive side, 61st on the defensive side, 107th in tempo. We've got one of our price kings on the board here, Armando Bacot at 10-6, and we have the task of figuring out who's going to attack the middle of that zone.
Yeah, man, Bacot 10-6. Don't know that I can. I don't know if I'm going to go there. That's a massive price tag, and Jesse Edwards is there on the other side, so that's kind of annoying. Who's going to be in the middle of the zone? That's a great question because that's the guy that gets all the fantasy goodness and the kick-out shooters. So Davis and Love are in play. I like Caleb Love, which I shouldn't For large field tournaments, he's 7,400. We know he has 30, 40 fantasy point upside. The 2-3 zone offers open shots for him to create, do different things. He's obviously $1,000 cheaper than RJ Davis, who kind of been pretty similar in production, right? They kind of, take away from each other. But every now and then, one of those guys will pop off for a massive game. This could be for the a shot here where Caleb Love does that. Deferred a lot, obviously, these guards to Bacot, which is why he's putting up 50 and 49, and 36 and 48 fantasy point games. So, but this is the 2-3 zone, right, which allows a ton of three-pointers. Long rebounds. So these guards could actually have a little bit more rebounding upside than they normally would. Leaky Black, I don't know that I can go there at his price tag at 6,400, but at the middle of the zone is Pete Nance. Like, that could be kind of interesting, and no one's going to play him because he's 6,300 and hasn't been great recently. His rates don't jump off the page, but he's someone that can facilitate in the middle of that zone. It feels like they might put one of the guards in there, which obviously gives Davis and Love massive upside, depending on which one they do put it right there in the top of the key. So, I guess if I had to prioritize it, I'm looking at Love and Davis, with obviously Love. That price savings is really tilting me more, 2-1 on his side. Obviously, Bacot's always in play, so I'm not going to, out of 20 lineups, I'll probably put him on, 2 or 3 because he has just such massive upside. And then, I'm going to take a few shots on Nance to see what he can do in this zone, man. Some of these guys just absolutely destroy it. So he kind of profiles as the guy like Jordan Miller, like Blake Henson, even Jalen Moore. If he just didn't foul every 10 seconds in that Georgia Tech game, he was set to have a massive day. Who I was on, but it's usually been the stretch four, the forward, someone that can facilitate. So Nance could be an interesting piece, but definitely large field only.
Yeah, Nance was absolutely the name that I wanted to underscore here. You talked about his profile and his skill set definitely matches up nicely for this matchup specifically. But also you have to keep in mind that this will be his third game back from a pretty prolonged injury stint, right? Came back on the 17th, played again on the 21st, 30 and 36 minutes respectively. And if there is a spot to get back into the flow of the game, it's in the middle of that 2-3 zone. So definitely like Pete Nance. I want to go back to the guards here for a moment. Mention that you're leaning the Love side at 7.4K. Looking over their game logs, it does feel like Caleb Love carries a little bit more ceiling, but he's not quite as consistent. Whereas with RJ Davis, not quite as high a ceiling, but a little bit more steady in his contribution. Do you see Davis as more of like the single entry play, whereas Love is a little bit more of a tournament play, or do I have that inverse?
No, I think both are just large field plays. I don't know that you want to play either one of them in a single entry. The price tags are a little too expensive for what you've kind of been getting from them recently because, Bacot could just take everything away from them and Nance could be at the top of the key. So, I think for me, these are large field type plays, especially that 8,400 on RJ Davis. Like, you're passing up on a lot of good players at 8,400 for him to, go out and put up a 27. So, both large field plays for me. I think really only the cash lock is just to click Bacot and move on.
Definitely are passing up on a lot of guys and a lot of goodness in that mid 8K range. So fair point with Davis. We will move over to the other side of this game. The Syracuse Orangemen 13-7 on the season, 60th in offensive efficiency, 127th in defensive, pretty slow clip, 207th in tempo. You mentioned Jesse Edwards being there as someone that is a potential limiting factor for Armando Bacot. Take that and flip it right back on its head. Jesse Edwards, 9.9K, potentially limited by Armando Bacot. Is that a fair line of thinking, or do you think that Edwards has what we need to kind of get around this individual matchup?
Oh, yeah. I'm not playing Jesse Edwards. Not at 9,900. So, we can just move right off of him, especially in the matchup. It's not good for him. For the Orangeman side, the guards, man, they're always just going to be in play, right? Like, Joe Girard, we said it, like, on Saturday that he was just going to destroy everyone, and he did. Like, the three ball was just rolling for him, put up almost 50 fantasy points, and that's just how he goes, man. Like, he is a perfect GPP play. So is Judah Mintz. Both of these guys have massive, like 40 fantasy point ceiling for this price tag, man, and people just don't play them, right? So, UNC, not a defensive juggernaut. We've seen them struggle at times. Still 61st in defensive efficiency, but I think the way you can take advantage of them are with the guards that can penetrate and make things happen. So, I'll take some shots on both of these guys. A little more worried about Mintz. Feels like he's kind of trending down on some of these minutes here, but we've seen him get up into the mid to high 30s, and they're going to need to win this game to have any shot of making the tournament. So for them, it's like, man, I feel like you just got to play your best players. So it feels like Vince could be in there for 35, 38 minutes, and an awesome GPP play for sure.
Yeah, Judah Mintz has been a proud member of Mike's I Just Can't Quit You list for quite some time. Before we move off this game, those of you that are checking in on YouTube, do your part, hit those like and subscribe buttons. But I want to go back to the Bacot topic. Mike mentioned that he's probably going to go about 10% exposure to Armando Bacot in his GPP builds for tomorrow. Where do you guys land? You guys land about 10%, looking a little bit higher than that, trying to go overweight to the field. Solving the Armando Bacot question is one that is a key theme for any individual slate strategy. And we will move on to our last showcase game, also carrying a 149-point total. Technically a little bit closer, should be a pretty tight one between Ohio State heading to Illinois, 75-74 in favor of the Illini, according to KenPom. We will start with the underdogs here. They are getting paced up a little bit. That is the Buckeyes, 11-8 on the season. Really solid offensively, 7th in that category. Pretty solid defensively, 84th there. About average in tempo, 188. So for these Buckeyes, we saw the run on Zed Key with the late player scratches on the Sunday, I believe Saturday slate, now that I say it out loud. Obviously, some people are feeling a little salty about that performance. Like looking at these Buckeyes, how are you making sense of this side of the game?
Yeah, I mean, Zed Key is questionable too. So, that could change a lot of things and could open up some interesting plays. But Bryce Sensabaugh, he's 8,500. Like, if Key is out, like, he has 40 fantasy point upside. The problem is the price is up, so I'm probably off of him, especially on the road here. Large field GPP to win that 5K. If Zed Key is out, I do not mind taking a shot on Justice Suing. Has not been great, but if Key's going to be out, like, he's got to step up for them. So, not going crazy or anything, but I will have a couple of shares of Suing if Key is out. I don't know if it's going to be Ice Likely game again, but he went for 42 fantasy points, made the late pivot on the news that came out that he was starting, and he goes for 42 fantasy points. So those two lineups ended up having cashing is 3%. I think he's going to be mega popular now, but I don't watched him a ton of Oklahoma State, and everything has to go right for him. If Key's out, right, like he is somebody that can create and do different things, but I mean, 15% usage rate on the year, 13% shot rate, like it feels a little bit like we're be chasing that. But he is a salary saver, and he's probably, if he plays 35 minutes at 4,200, like you're probably going to want to get to him in some lineups. He's probably going to be a pretty popular play as well, if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that everyone loves chasing the last slate's fantasy production. So to get a guy at essentially 4K who roughly 10x that price tag last time out, definitely think that he is going to be a pretty popular option. If we see Zed Key make his way in, do you think we actually find the opposite here, right? That questionable tag tends to draw down ownership. Also, he's coming off a bit of a dud relative to his price tag, which has now gone up. And that expectation also tends to carry over. Do you think that if Zed Key makes his way in as he's dealing with this lower body injury, he's actually maybe one of the better leverage spots on the slate?
Yeah. I think if he's in, I mean, yeah, that's scary, right? Like, if he's full go, which I don't even know if we're going to know that, then yeah, I mean, he's okay. I don't know that he has 40 fantasy point ceiling in this matchup anyway. So for 7,300, I'm probably not going to do it. I could see someone taking a shot on it. He's not going to be owned. I'm really only playing this Ohio State side if Key is out. So yeah, if you want to take a shot on him, go ahead. The price increase kind of hurts that upside though.
Yeah, definitely not fun to see that go up a good $700 from their last time out. So won't be popular. So really the reason why he ends up on my radar. Sounds like you've got a bit more interest on the Illinois side. Fighting Illini are 13-6 on the season, 47th in the offensive rank, 28th in the defensive side, playing pretty fast, 65th, in tempo. So for these Illini, which is the players that are catching your attention?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the price tag on Terrence Shannon, but he's always in play. There's always really good forwards on slates, and so you tend to pay up for the forward spot. So he's kind of a leverage move off of that, and he can go for 40, even 50 fantasy points. So don't mind Shannon. Mayer, he's 7,900, kind of in the same boat. Completely burned last game, but before that, a 41 and a 39. You would take a 5x there again. So I'll have a couple of shares of him. I don't know if I can get to Danger and Hawkins at 7,100 and 7,000. I'll leave that for other people. For this Illini side, it's really just taking some shots on Shannon and Mayer, and that's really about it. This game is kind of weird. I feel like this is a game that could probably go under. You do like the Ohio State side a little bit better because they're in the pace-up spot and Key could be out. For the Illini, it's really just trying to figure out which of these two studs for them, Shannon or Mayer, will go off. And if Dane Danger can kind of figure it out over the course of the entire game. And then Coleman Hawkins is kind of just disappeared. So if you want to take a shot at him in large field, he does have massive rates and the ability to put up 40 fantasy points. But I just don't think I'm going to go there. I'll stick to mix and matching. Maybe in 20% of my lineups, the Illini got top dogs here from the Big 12 transfer market.
Yeah, and this is our obligatory public service announcement where we declare and remind everybody that Matthew Mayer is, for some reason, guard and forward eligible. Whenever I am fitting that last guy in, having that flexibility tends to find me leaning one way over another. So something to keep in mind with Mayer. That will do it for our showcase games. And we're going to head into a brand new segment here. We're going to, instead of rounding out the entire player pool tier by tier, going to go with a little bit more of a simplified version. 2 plays, 1 fade. Start with our top tier. Mentioned Mondo Baycott earlier at 10.6K. He is going to be a somewhat popular pay up, but there are a lot of guys this top tier. Mike, among the highest price guys, who are your 2 plays and who's the pay up option that you're looking to fade?
Yeah, so Sheboy, $300 more than Baycott. He's 10-9 going to Vanderbilt. Probably going to be a slaughterhouse there for him. Has 50, 60, maybe even 70 fantasy point upside there. Was in foul trouble last game and still racked up, still cleared his prize pick prop, even though he had 3 rebounds at halftime and 2 fouls. I ended up with, I think, like 14 or 15 rebounds. So the guy's just an animal, right? Like 11K, scary, but this is a good spot for him, even on the road. If you want to pay down in that top tier, there's Anthony Black. He's been really great over the last couple of games and kind of a Swiss Army knife, can do it all right, grab boards, dish out dimes. If he ever takes more than like 12 shot attempts, like he's got massive ceiling. But he's 7,500. He's playing LSU. They have a really high implied total, so like Anthony Black here. The guy that I'm fading, KJ Williams, in this tier, man, he's 9,100 going to a tough road environment. They're 13-point dogs at Arkansas, according to Ken Palm. So KJ probably not finding his way into any of my lineups.
That makes good sense. Going back to the Oscar side, kind of the default answer has been 50% Sheboy all year long. Is that also the case here? You're looking to come in a little bit underweight to that.
Yeah, underweight to that. Probably closer to 30, probably 30 to 35% with the Baycott right there.
It feels hard to get up to these 10K plus price tags on this slate. So big part of the way that we'll do that is by attacking the mid tier and being efficient there. A couple of guys that are really interesting in your plays list. Let's give them to the people. 2 plays, 1 fade. Yeah,
Jacob Toppin. He's been good even when Sheboy's been in there doing his thing. So, he has 30, 35 fantasy point upside. Sheboy finds himself in foul trouble again. He's a direct beneficiary to that. Just been very solid. Jaron Holmes, if you're trying to, save a little more coin, he's 6,500. And he gets Kansas State. Kansas State's been playing at a solid pace this year. Traveling to Iowa State here. Holmes, high usage rate. He's someone with Gabe Kalsher that really has to make the offense go here. So I don't mind, trying to find a ceiling game from him, which early in the year was in the high 30s. So definitely looking at Holmes here. A guy I'm going to fade. He's coming off a pretty solid outing is Jalen Hill. He's 6,000. He's traveling to TCU. It's tougher for TCU front line. And things just have to kind of go his way in order for him to smash. So, I don't know. I just really can't go there. Tough road environment for them. So I'm off Jalen Hill.
Yeah, tough road environment, and that price tag is exactly where you don't want it to be, right? He's sitting there at 5.2, 5.4. Maybe you can make a case for it. 6K, it's a real hard path for him. Last but certainly not least, and very much so needed on tomorrow's slate, our salary savers, the low tier. Who are your plays? Who's your one fade?
Yeah, I'm looking at Marcus Hammond, Notre Dame, playing a pile of minutes. He's 4,100 going to North Carolina State. He's probably gonna have to get more involved for this Notre Dame team to get going here. You like the price tag versus how many minutes he's playing and the production that he's put up. You'll take that too. I mean, he's had some pretty solid games. So definitely liking Hammond at 4,100. Trey King, we talked about it, like the Iowa State bigs. There's Robert Jones, Osni. They actually both went off, and they were both Osni went off and he was like 45% on that slate, and I was like 10. Did not see his ceiling game coming, but King comes in at 3,800 and played a pile of minutes, injured early in the year. It's a big Kansas State front line, Key Johnson's there. Could he play a prominent role, right, with some foul trouble? Yeah, it feels like, Trey King could slide in there and do some things. And the Shahada Wells, he's 3,400. He's not going to do what he did last game. He doesn't play that many minutes at 3,400. Oklahoma's pretty good defensively. He is at home, but I don't know. I feel like people are going to be chasing those points from the last game where, they blew out Kansas. So it's not for me. I'll let other people try to chase that down.
Yeah, going to be a tough one for Wells to run it back. Trey King is a player that on the last slate put up 27.5 fantasy points and was prominently featured on just about all of my caching lineup. So love going back to the well there. That will do it for our tiers breakdown as well as our showcase games. Mike, any closing thoughts or kind of overarching strategy you want to leave the people with?
Yeah, I mean, tons of teams in that pull-up jumper, man. So you got to be different. It's like you said, it's going to be tough to pay up for some of these top dogs, but those are the guys that, can smash the slate with 50 and 60 fantasy. One or two of these guys at the bottom, to kind of unlock that. So, we'll pay attention to the injury news. It could be big. We got some guys like Wong and Key that could really open up the slate. But it's going to take a lot of fantasy points. It's going to be a fun one, though.
Yeah, going to be an absolute blast. It will take a ton of points to get this one shipped, but we are now in the mid-season form of the college basketball year. So these lineups are getting tighter. The player pool is getting bigger. That is exactly what we're here for. Mike mentioned the necessity of paying attention to this injury news. One of the best ways to do that is to get over to drroto.com. Not only will you be able to subscribe and find all of Mike's written work, you will get access to our members-only Discord. That is where Mike, myself, the entire team at drroto.com are residing. And in our CBB chat, we are in there dropping the latest news, talking about builds, talking about our favorite prize picks for the night. So get over to drroto.com, get yourself subscribed, get in that Discord. Let's get this bread.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.